This recipe is about oats. No, that's not right. Oats. This recipe involves oats. There we go. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. For this recipe, other than a blender, we need the following ingredients. We start with the cashew nuts. I was able to find cashews packaged in large bags at my local supermarket, as well as almonds. It was in the Asian section of the store. They are at good price as they are packaged in large bags. Next is the chocolate powder that is available usually in the baking section, also in large container, found it next to the sugar. It is 100% cocoa powder with nothing added. On its own it is quite bitter, you should try this at home. To sweeten our recipe we use dates. We can usually find them in the fruit section of the supermarket. Look for the big boxes so they are cost effective. They are packaged dry. As an alternative you can use agave syrup or honey. For flavor I'm also adding desiccated coconut flakes, although this is quite optional and sometimes I skip it. And of course the main ingredient, the oats. I preferred rolled oats. Make sure that what you get is 100% whole grain with nothing added. All this comes up at around £1.50 per portion, with the main cost being the cashew nuts. If you don't have dates, use 1 or 2 spoons of agave syrup or honey. Okay, so let's get started. First we need to put the cashews to soak. Half a cup will be sufficient. Just add water and let it soak for 10 minutes if you have a powerful blender. If not, then let them soak for a couple of hours or overnight so they blend properly. You can also do this recipe with almonds instead of cashews, but the almonds have to be soaked overnight as they behave quite differently. While the cashews are soaking, boil up some water if you prefer to have the cashew milk warm. I personally alternate, I can't decide if I like it better cold or warm. Once the cashews are soaked, throw out the water and rinse them again. Then select 3 dates and wash them. You might want to soak the dates as well if your blender is not powerful enough or if they are very dry. Because this is a cereals type of dish, it doesn't matter if some of the things are going to be a bit chunky inside. If you would go for a different type of recipe, you would definitely want the mix to be a perfect paste. Before adding them to the blender, make sure to check that the dates don't have any stones, and if they do, take them out. As mentioned earlier, for flavor I am adding a tablespoon of desiccated coconut. Desiccated coconut. Sometimes I do skip it and I go instead for more chocolate powder or agave syrup. Normally 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder will do the trick, so I don't have to increase the quantity. Then add 1 cup of hot water and blend well the whole mix for about 45 seconds. You could blend for longer if your blender can handle it. Do check in the instruction manual for how long you can blend continuously. For this blender that I have, they recommend that you don't run it for more than a minute. Once everything is blended, just combine with the oats. Right now I am using about 50 grams of oats for this portion. Add as much cashew nuts milk as you want and put the rest on the side. You can keep it in the fridge until the end of the day. While the oats are soaking, do remember to rinse the blender, as it is easiest if you don't let it for later so it doesn't dry up. At this point you can be creative whether you want to add anything to the combination. I'm adding cinnamon. You could You could add only cinnamon instead of coconut, or vanilla. You could add vanilla. On top you could also add berries. I sometimes go for blueberries in this mix, it goes quite well. Altogether, this dish comes up at around 500 calories per portion, which is quite good for breakfast. Considering that women should have 2000 calories per day and men 2500, you might want to go for a bigger portion if you want for this to keep you full for half the day. You could add chopped walnuts, as they are quite calorific. In this calculation I only used 70% of the cashew milk, which counted as 310 calories instead of the 443. Thank you for watching, and do leave comments if you tried this recipe and if you have found tasty variations or improvements. I'm quite curious. The extra milk that I don't use, I keep it in the fridge, and when I want to drink it I add some hot water as the mix solidifies quite a bit as it sits in the fridge.